I mean, yes, we've been asking this question for many, many months now. Yeah, how much lower can these yields go? But it was a great year.
Well, so far this year it's been fantastic. And I think if you asked people on December 31st last year, do you expect peripheral bond yields to go lower, they would say yes. Quite this far and quite this pace, perhaps not. I mean, for example, Greek bonds so far this year have gone up in value 27%, and Portuguese bonds have rallied 23%. Quite fantastic performance, and who would have thought at the start of the year that Irish and Spanish yields would be below US yields and UK yields? I mean, that's quite something. I mean, you can argue that perhaps from a technical point of view, when you take into account inflation, that's kind of merited, but it's quite a startling performance, as you say. And the question is, can this continue? Well, we'll find out in the weeks and months ahead. As long as the ECB stands behind the market, and you've got that ECB put, if you like, then perhaps they can go even lower.
Let's move on to frontier stocks. That was a great bet.
Similar reasons, of course. I mean, what's driving this so far has been the hunt for yield.
Yeah.
If you can get it in Portuguese bonds or Greek bonds, go there. You can get higher rates of return in frontier markets. Of course, the risk is greater. But if it's yield you're after, and you've got all this liquidity in the market, it's got to go somewhere, as we've discussed before. So why not? And frontier stocks up, some 20% so far this year. It's the hunt for yield.
Very, very quickly, again, before we get on to your piece, what concerns over China have been weighing on sectors, and clearly exposure to that economy has been tough for the likes of copper. Indeed.
Although, some of the frontier market outperformance has been on the back of China, China investing overseas. True. But as you say, domestically in China, the perennial fears over a hard landing in China, we've got the credit crunch concerns in China, the property sector. These are risks that we all know about, and as you suggest, that's kind of reined in Chinese asset performances, and stocks, as you say, in China have underperformed, and so has copper.
Sterling. Most people expect sterling to continue rising. The cable went through 170. Mm-hmm. Most people are saying that can go even higher, given the Bank of England, etc. It could fall, though.
It could, of course. When you've got the market consensus as strong as it is on an asset, in this case we're talking sterling, it might be worth taking a look at the reasons why it might not follow that path. And for all the talk of the UK recovery, and it does seem to be taking hold, the current account deficit is still huge. It's still 4.5–5% of GDP. Yep. The economy is very unbalanced. It still needs to draw on foreign capital, and maybe the recovery isn't quite so solid